5. Tamales, Tomatoes, and Worm Talk 2. The girls raced to Cora's house. Cora's father had his famous guacamole waiting for them. It was chunks of avocado with little pieces of tomato, red onion, and cilantro. And there were crisp tortilla chips to go with it. Then came tamales, made by Cora's grandmother. These were little packets of soft corn dough filled with chicken. It was milky looking and tasted of lime and cinnamon. This is called horchata, Cora said. The girls ate and drank. They talked about the beautiful flowers and all their needs. Cora's mother listened in. The flowers asked you for worms? Those flowers have been asleep for a long time, Cora's mother said with a laugh. They just don't need worms. They need worms. They need worm composting. You girls can help with that? Worm what? Campbell asked. Worm composting, repeated Cora's mom. It's a really neat way to make good soil for a garden. It's also a good way to recycle. You know how we put all our bottles and cans and newspapers in the special bins, right? That's recycling. Well, worms recycle too. They recycle food scraps by eating them. In fact, feeding worms food scraps is the easiest way to recycle that I can think of. All three girls looked at Cora's mom. They wanted to know more. But Mom, said Cora, when we recycle bottles and cans and newspapers, a big truck stops by and collects them. Is someone going to collect our worms? No, sweetie, you keep your worms. Worms eat up food scraps and turn out worm castings. That's a polite word for worm poop. That poop is very good for gardens. How can we never heard any of this before? Well, good gardening tips are sometimes hard to come by, Cora's mother replied. But a lady named Mary did her best to teach people about worm composting. In fact, she's probably as famous for worm composting as Daisy Gordon Lowe is for Girl Scouts. People call her Worm Woman. She lived in Kalamazoo in Michigan. I can show you girls how to make worm composting box, Cora's mom added. You can keep it in the kitchen, and then every week you take a fresh compost to the garden. I don't know, said Cassandra, looking glum. I don't think my mom will let me keep worm poop in our kitchen. That sounds yucky. Well, the worms stay right in their box. That's all very neat and clean. But as long as the weather's mild, you can keep the box in your backyard, or in the garbage, or in the basement. Still, Cassandra, wouldn't it be more fun to grow ladybugs? They're so pretty. Gardens are about choices, Cassandra, Cora's mother said. Every gardener chooses what she wants to grow. Basil, said Campbell. That's what I want to grow for Gurry and Rosie. They want to have more good smells in the garden. Basil is perfect then, Cora's mother said. And maybe since you love tomatoes, you'll plant those too. I can save you seeds for some beautiful heirloom tomatoes from Mexico. Heirloom, said Cassandra. What's an heirloom? A loom that floats in the air? No, silly. Heirloom. Heirloom, said Campbell. That means old and special. I learned about it from Grandma. She's always talking to me about heirlooms, but not tomatoes. She talks about heirloom jewelry. She said she's going to give me her heirloom charm bracelet when I turn 8 next year. That must be a beautiful bracelet, Cora's mother said. And heirloom tomatoes are beautiful too, and delicious. What about honeybees, said Cora. Clover wants her bee friend, Honey, to have some bees to play with. Honeybees? That's a tough one, said Cora's mom. Bees aren't doing so well this year, but I know all the beekeepers in town. Maybe you could visit a beekeeper and get some advice. Suddenly, Cora remembered the note from Daisy Gordon Low. "Cassandra, show my mom the note," she said. Cassandra pulled out the rusty tin box from her backpack. She opened the note and took out the folded yellow note. She carefully unfolded the paper and handed it to Cora's mother. Cora's mom sat down at the kitchen table and read the note. Then she looked at the girls. "This is a wonderful note. That Daisy was very smart. Maybe you could write a note too, to future Daisies. What do you want to tell them?" "We have an idea," Cora, Cassandra, and Campbell cried out all at once. "Well, think about it a while. I'm sure the right message will come to you." "Let's ask Tamiko," said Cora. "She's good at giving advice. She's almost 9 years old." "Oh, Cora, I almost forgot," Cora's mother said. "Tamiko called this morning while you were at the garden. I told her to stop by around 1 o'clock, which is," Cora's mother looked right at the big yellow kitchen clock, "right about now." Just then the doorbell rang. It was Tamiko, a third grader from down the street. She held a tray of beautiful little Japanese rice cakes. Some were pink, some were green, and some were white. Tamiko said hello to everyone, then sat down. "Delicious," said Cora's mother. These are good," said Campbell. "Maybe when we finish helping the flowers, we could celebrate with the garden party. We can serve these cakes with tea. Garden parties are supposed to have tea, right?" "That's a great idea," said Cora. "We could start with guacamole and a little tomato and basil sandwiches. Maybe rolled up like pinwheels so they're nice and pretty. We could have mint tea and these pretty cakes." "Now that sounds like a perfect tea party," Tamiko said. Everyone agreed.